Congratulations. God just released $6,500,000,000,000 in your name. Prayer for money. My beloved child, take a deep breath and still your heart. For this is not an ordinary moment. Heaven itself has paused to speak your name. God has released His divine decree over you, a prayer for money answered not with coins, but with calling, not with chance, but with certainty. The very courts of heaven have authorized $6,500,000,000,000 in your name, not as fantasy, but as faith fulfilled. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Jeremiah 29:11. What you feel stirring within is not imagination, it is activation. The oil of favor is being poured right now, and the vault of abundance is unlocking with your name engraved upon its gates. You have endured seasons of waiting, praying those midnight prayers when no one saw your tears. God saw. He counted every seed sown when you had nothing but belief left. He saw your quiet sacrifices, your hidden kindness, your steadfast yes when quitting would have been easier. None of it was wasted. Every delay was a divine setup for this release. Now, He whispers, do not shrink back. This is the hinge moment where endurance meets inheritance. The time has come for your financial prayer to manifest as provision that restores your household. The shame of unpaid bills, the weight of unmet needs, the fear of tomorrow, they are falling from your shoulders. You will eat with joy, sleep without worry, and your table will overflow with laughter. Your children will no longer sense scarcity behind every decision. For you who once begged heaven for daily bread, God now gives you storehouses, strategies, and the wisdom to steward wealth with grace. As Proverbs 10:22 says, the blessing of the Lord makes rich, and He adds no sorrow with it. This is wealth that heals generations, not harms them. And listen carefully. Dear one, God is amplifying your influence. Your voice, once trembling in small spaces, will now echo in great ones. You will speak, and doors will open. You will build, and others will breathe easier. This isn't about money alone. This is about mission. What He gives you isn't just assets, but assignment, so that your abundance flows with purpose. You are stepping into divine acceleration. What used to take years will take months. What took months will take weeks. The hand of favor will work while you rest, turning effort into ease and toil into triumph. This is acceleration without anxiety, prosperity without pride. So breathe deeply and receive. This is your season of restoration and release. Your prayer for money has been heard and answered in full measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The Lord is exchanging your fear of not enough for the anointing of more than enough, not only for you but through you, that you may bless others and build His kingdom. See it now, accounts that no longer tremble, contracts that honor your time, and partners sent by providence. See generosity flowing from you like a river that will never run dry. Child, this is your moment. Step forward in faith, and let heaven's abundance rewrite your story forever. Listen closely, you right now, standing in this exact season, God is weaving a 3-strand cord through your next steps, and I want you to feel each strand in your hands as I speak to you first. He is restoring the dignity of your household, so the shame of unpaid promises and delayed hopes slips off your shoulders like an old cloak, and your table carries laughter that doesn't flinch at due dates. Second, He is amplifying your influence, so the voice that once shook in small rooms stands with clarity in wide places, and when you speak, solutions gather, and when you build, communities breathe easier. Third, He is sanctifying speed, so what used to take years takes months, what took months takes weeks, and what required many hands is now accomplished by favor, that moves unseen while you sleep. Acceleration without anxiety, promotion without pretense. Because as Philippians 4:19 declares, "My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory." And those riches don't tremble at bills, market dips, or skeptical headlines. So lift your eyes and see with me the account that no longer shakes at large numbers, because large numbers become your new normal. The keys warm in your palm to spaces you once visited only in dreams. Partners aligned by providence rather than manipulation. Contracts that honor your time and pay what your excellence is worth. Ventures that bless cities, feed families, and repair breaches, and feel the quiet joy of generosity flowing through you like a river that refuses to run dry. For this is not indulgence, this is stewardship, the crown of responsibility placed on a faithful head. And if you ask why God speaks in amounts that startle you, it is because he is answering not only your bills but your blueprint, not only the light bill but the lighthouse. You were trained by scarcity to think in survival frames, make it to the next morning. But he is retraining you to think in kingdom frames. Plan for the next generations, because scarcity begs for one open door, while the kingdom funds the corridor, the houses on both sides, and the teams that keep the lamps burning. And that's why Malachi 3:10 says, "Bring the whole tithe, and see if I will not pour out a blessing until there is no more need," which is not a hollow slogan, but a call to reorder your habits, so your giving becomes a plow that breaks hard ground, and your saving becomes a storehouse that outlives panic. Yes, critics will talk, but they did not see the furnace and will not understand the flame. So let love be your logic, integrity your guardrail, and purpose your compass, while God places around you counselors of clean heart and sharp mind, CPA-level wisdom with pastor-level care, so you discern who is for your destiny and who only wants your glow. And let peace be the umpire that rules your decisions. Because in modern life, peace is practical. It steadies your budgeting, your negotiations with landlords or lenders, your choice to build an emergency fund before chasing a luxury, your refusal to sign predatory contracts, your courage to ask for fair pay, your weekly habit to send something, however small, toward debt or investment. And as you pray, keep your words simple and your posture bold, because a sincere prayer for money is not greed, but trust in the provider. Say it with me as a financial prayer, Lord. Align my heart, my skills, and my steps with your wisdom. Give me clients worth my craft, mentors worth my questions, and opportunities sized for my obedience. And then act on that prayer for money miracle by updating your resume, taking the course, calling the prospect, and serving so well that invoices are paid early and referrals come unasked. For Luke 6:38 promises, "Give, and it will be given to you," running over, which means generosity is not a leak in your bucket, but the reason the bucket is always being refilled. And when congratulations, God just released $6,500,000,000,000 in your name sounds too grand for your ears, hear it rightly. Heaven's ledger has no shortage. And while the number is a metaphor for abundance, the method is real, steady diligence, holy strategy, and open-handed generosity. So build a spending plan you can explain to a child, automate your saving and your giving, so your future self is faithful even on your tired days. Negotiate every bill you can. Providers expect it. Ask for rates that reflect your results. Keep receipts like a steward, not a hoarder. And remember, Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make straight your paths," which includes career pivots, side businesses birthed from quiet skills, and collaborations that turn small efforts into significant outcomes. And as you walk this out, keep these phrases alive in your mouth. Prayer for money when fear whispers you're late. Prayer for money miracle when timelines feel tight and doors seem heavy. Financial prayer when you're choosing between the cheaper shortcut and the wiser long road. Repeat them not as superstition, but as alignment, because your words anchor your attention, and your attention directs your steps. Finally, hold your head high at the table. God set for you in the presence of your enemies, Psalm 23:5, which includes lack watching you eat and anxiety watching you sleep, and you will not need to hustle what God is handing you or prove what He has already approved. So walk softly, because power doesn't need to shout. Decide firmly, because clarity is kindness to yourself, and give freely, because you are not losing, you are sowing, and as you do, you will find that the numbers you feared become tools in your hands. The rooms that once ignored you now request your voice, and the future that felt distant begins folding toward you at a sanctified speed, while your steady, daily prayer for money, your expectant prayer for money miracle, and your practical financial prayer braid themselves into that same unbreakable 3-strand cord He promised from the start. Lift up your head, my friend. Straighten your shoulders, because today heaven is clothing you with the robe of release. This is not a small shift. It's the sound of destiny turning in your favor. The atmosphere around you is changing. Even the language of your future is being rewritten by the hand of God. No longer will your prayers end with maybe or someday. Now they rise with must and now. The promises that once felt far away are stepping closer with every heartbeat. You are entering a divine economy where testimonies mark your days and milestones count your months. Where you used to measure loss, you will now measure multiplication. When trembling rises in your spirit, don't mistake it for fear. It is the vibration of recognition. Your soul knows that something holy is unfolding. God has walked you with patience through the narrow path, and now He invites you to cross into the wide place prepared for you. Can you feel that shift? The air of release, the opening of heaven's ledger with your name on it today. Gratitude is your first transaction in this new kingdom order. Before you speak of money or success, lift your hands and say, "Thank you, Lord." Every blessing that flows begins with returning honor where honor is due. That is the secret behind every prayer for financial breakthrough and every prayer for finances that moves heaven to act. When you acknowledge God as your source, lack loses its voice. You are not just surviving, you are being equipped to thrive. Now, hear this: God just released $6.5 trillion in your name, not merely as currency, but as confirmation. This isn't just a number written in heaven's records. It's the sound of restoration echoing through your story. Think of every door that slammed in your face, every opportunity that vanished, every tear you cried when the world said no. Heaven says yes today. That heavenly amount represents every unseen moment when you wondered if God still remembered you. He did. He counted every sigh, every night you stared at the ceiling, wondering if your labor was in vain. And now He repays, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Have you ever wondered why you had to wait so long? It's because a small cup cannot hold a river. God was stretching your faith to fit the abundance He had in store. What once would have overwhelmed you will now overflow through you. This isn't just about money, it's about trust. He trusts you because you chose endurance when giving up was easier. Look back, see every valley, every sleepless night, every time you lacked but refused to lose hope. Now, look forward. Every dream you once labeled impossible is within reach. This release is not just for you, it is for your children, your grandchildren, your entire bloodline. You are breaking generational scarcity and establishing generational strength. Your family will no longer bow to debt or fear. They will stand in dominion, where shame once shadowed your steps. Favor now goes before you like an army of angels. Do you feel that peace rising inside you? It's not imagination, it's inheritance. God is making your name a testimony that will echo beyond borders. Picture yourself holding the keys to the home you once thought you'd never afford, or opening the account you once feared to check, now full to overflow. The projects you hid in journals are coming alive. They're funded, flourishing, and favored. The laughter that once felt stolen by stress is returning to your home like a melody without sorrow. This is not fantasy. This is what God means when He says, "I will restore the years the locust has eaten." So, my friend, here is the lesson of this moment. Never measure your worth by what you see missing. Measure it by what God is multiplying. Speak boldly over your life. Let your prayer for financial breakthrough rise not from desperation, but from faith. Speak wealth with wisdom, and you will attract money that carries purpose, not pride. Remember, your abundance is not only for comfort, it is for covenant. God did not bless you just to raise your standard of living, but to raise your standard of giving. You are stepping into divine overflow. Receive it with gratitude, walk in it with humility, and guard it with faith. If you close your eyes, can you imagine $6.5 trillion spoken over your name, not as a trophy, but as a tool? A sign that the vault is open and the scroll is unsealed. That provision has direction, destiny, and a blueprint. Now, before you ask if this is greed, ask a gentler question: what if this is grace? A holy invitation to steward abundance with wisdom, to sit at tables where your voice has weight, and to become a distribution point rather than a reservoir. I believe you are being surrounded with wise counselors, faithful allies, and divine strategies, so your wealth carries purpose, feeds families, lifts lives, and opens doors sealed for generations. And yes, I'm talking to you, the one who used to count pennies with trembling hands. What if, starting now, you count blessings with steady joy and declare, not maybe someday, but today is mine? For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And doesn't that whisper meet something deep in you that always knew you were preserved for such a time as this? As you hear this, notice how alignment rises. Hidden sacrifices are being crowned with visible reward. Integrity is being honored. Missteps are being corrected. And what looked like delay is revealed as preparation. Because the season of smallness is over, and you are stepping into a wide place that flows with more than you asked for. Tell me, how will you use this release to activate the dream you shelved, to revive the calling you parked, to finish the project you feared was impossible? And while the symbol speaks of $6.5 trillion, the substance is larger emotional stability where chaos lived, peace where worry haunted your nights, strength in your bones where weakness tried to settle, opportunities rushing toward you like unstoppable waves. Now ask yourself, what confession will you align with? What daily action will you take? What boundary will you set? What seed will you sow? So that your outer life matches the inner decree. As you do, let your personal money prayer rise, not as a desperate plea, but as a confident conversation with God who delights to guide your steps. Pray a prayer for financial miracle that also asks for stewardship, clarity, generosity, and courage, because without those, wealth becomes noise, but with them, it becomes music. And while some call it the law of attraction, notice how your spirit knows a deeper law at work. Faith meeting obedience, thought meeting practice, intention meeting integrity, so that what you draw is what you are prepared to carry. I often think the most powerful money prayer is the one that says, Lead me where resources serve love, justice, and legacy. And the most honest prayer for financial miracle is the one that asks for a heart large enough to share the blessing. So let's keep it practical. Align your words with your purpose. Align your calendar with your calling. Align your budget with your values. And watch how this alignment makes room for provision to flow through you. Give, and it will be given to you, is more than a verse. It's an economy of heaven that multiplies what you release. And if you've ever wondered whether God notices the quietly faithful, hear this: you are seen, you are trusted, and you are being positioned. Now, let me ask, who will sit at your table because you said yes to purpose? Which door will finally swing open because you refused to shrink? And what legacy will your children inherit because you believed today? As your heart nods, yes. Keep the current moving with a gentle rhythm of money prayer that returns you to gratitude twice a day. Revisit a humble prayer for financial miracle that keeps your motives clean and your focus clear. And practice the law of attraction by holding thoughts, words, and actions in one bright line of integrity. If doubts whisper, "This is too much," smile and remember you were not made for scraps. You were prepared for a feast, and your task is simple: receive, realign, and release. I believe this is the hour where your name is tied to influence that cannot be ignored, where you walk into rooms and honor rises to meet you, where you steward resources so well that people feel the goodness of God through your generosity. And as you take this next deep breath, ask yourself one last open question. What is the first loving, concrete step I will take today to live as if this covenant of purpose is already true? Then take it and keep walking, because the treasury has been unlocked. The current is flowing, and the story you and I are telling is only just beginning. Look at your life again, not through the lens of loss, but through the eyes of God. Where you once saw disappointment, He saw preparation. Where you thought you were being broken, He was actually building you. Every tear you cried was not wasted. It was a seed planted deep in the soil of purpose. And now, heaven announces the release of $6.5 trillion in your name. Yes, you heard that right. Your name has been written on the scroll of abundance. What you saw as struggle, God saw as strength being forged for this very moment. Your past wasn't punishment, it was positioning. Even the pain had a purpose. Can you see it now? The training, the waiting, the sowing, it all led to this divine release, child of God. This is not just about money, it's about mission. Picture your parents resting with dignity, free from the weight of financial fear. Think about your children walking boldly into their future with no shame or struggle. Their education fully provided for. This is what happens when heaven endorses your name. You'll rebuild what others abandoned, restore what others forgot, and use your blessing as a tool of transformation. The very stones of shame once thrown at you will now form the foundation of your new house of blessing. This is more than a prayer for financial breakthrough. It's a heavenly announcement that your season of scarcity has ended. Now here, this speed is coming. What used to take 10 long years will now happen in 1. What others said was impossible will unfold before their very eyes, because you no longer live by the limits of earth. You live by the measure of heaven. God is removing every ceiling that boxed you in and giving you wings where others clipped them. He's setting you on a mountain where your voice can't be silenced. Do not fear envy, for He will shield you. Do not fear loss, for the God who provides can replenish faster than any locust can consume. This isn't fragile wealth, it's fortified wealth, built on covenant, not chance, built on promise, not luck. As you breathe this in, see yourself walking in dignity and joy, not because of possessions, but because you finally understand you were chosen, trusted, and sealed for such a time as this. Now listen closely. This $6.5 trillion release is not just about what flows to you, but about what flows through you. God is making you wealthy not to hide, but to shine, to lift, and to heal. You're being trusted with both abundance and authority. Every prayer for finances you've ever whispered, every act of kindness that went unseen, every seed sown in faith. He saw it all. Now that record is being converted into substance. You are stepping into a role greater than wealth. You are becoming a steward of divine resources, a living answer to the prayer for financial breakthrough others have been praying. How will you use it? Will you build schools, shelters, or small businesses that change entire communities? Will you feed the hungry or lift those drowning in debt? The world will see your hands, but they'll know it's God's heart moving through them. But even as you give, He will establish you. Your home will no longer echo with worry. The bank will no longer be a place of dread, but a symbol of joy. Generations to come will tell the story of how the curse of scarcity was broken in your bloodline. You will not be known as the one who lacked, but as the one who overflowed. And because God knows how blessing attracts attention, He's surrounding you with wisdom, advisors of clean spirit, mentors with sharp vision, and friends who celebrate you without hidden agendas. Peace will be your guide. Every hidden trap will be exposed before you step. Take a deep breath. Can you feel it? The heaviness that once made you shrink back is lifting. The fear that kept you silent is melting into confidence. You're stepping into a new season of clarity and honor. This is not just wealth, it's a mantle. It's the fulfillment of your prayer for finances, a divine response to your faith and perseverance. Rivers never run dry when they flow into other rivers. They grow wider and deeper, so will you. Because this isn't just about attracting money, it's about attracting purpose, wisdom, and transformation. The $6.5 trillion release is a sign that your scraping days are over and your shaping days have begun. God is shaping nations through what He's placing in your hands. Breathe it in and say it aloud. I am ready to steward. Let those words echo where you are right now, for as you speak, alignment strengthens, the flow deepens, and the vision becomes clearer. You are the vessel through which heaven's abundance will move. This is your divine assignment, your confirmation that the flow has begun. Lesson: God doesn't release abundance just to enrich you. He releases it to equip you. Wealth is not your destination, it's your tool. Use it with humility, guard it with wisdom, and let it bless beyond borders. For when you understand that money is not your master but your ministry, you will truly walk in the overflow of heaven. The birth of legacy. This is the part where I reveal to you what your future will look like when you no longer live under the shadow of just enough. This is the moment when your mind, your heart, and your spirit must expand to fit what I am pouring. For too long, you measured your days by bills and your nights by worries. You trained yourself to stretch a little, to cover a lot, to smile when your soul was weary, to keep silent when your heart was heavy. I saw it all. Every time you gave a little of yourself to keep someone else standing, I wrote it down. Today, those entries are being converted. This is not a random deposit. It is the harvest of a life of faithfulness. Child, see how your days will look now. Morning no longer begins with anxiety, but with expectancy. You rise and walk through a home filled with peace, light spilling through windows you once only dreamed of. You sit at a table where your family laughs, without the weight of lack pressing on their backs. You open your hands, and see provision not only for your needs, but for the needs of others. Projects that will change lives, ventures that will restore dignity. This is not just wealth, this is restoration made visible. Do you feel the heaviness falling away? It is the garment of scarcity slipping from your shoulders. In its place, I clothe you with a mantle of stewardship. You will move through rooms with calm confidence because you are no longer trying to prove your worth. You are living in your worth. You will see yourself differently, speak differently, decide differently. The old survival reflexes will fade and be replaced with the wisdom of a builder, a giver, a foundation layer, the discernment of destiny. And with this, I give you discernment. Not every invitation is for you. Not every voice deserves your ear. Not every opportunity aligns with your purpose. You will know the difference. I will show you where to plant, where to build, where to protect, and where to walk away. This is how the flow stays pure and strong. 6.5 trillion is not for waste. It is for destiny. My child, the grant I am releasing will do more than pay debts. It will erase cycles. It will heal wounds. It will rewrite family stories. It will turn whispered prayers into public testimonies. You will not only live in abundance, you will leave a trail of abundance. Those who come after you will walk paths you paved with obedience. Now breathe, lift your head, whisper, I receive. Let your heart soften into trust. Let gratitude rise before any plan, before any purchase, before any announcement. Gratitude is the anchor that will keep you steady in the flood. The doorway of the new life. You are standing at the doorway of a new life. Take my hand and step through. My beloved, lean in, because this is the part of the story where the horizon opens wider than your imagination. 6.5 trillion is not a headline. It is a living current flowing through your life. Feel it. What once trickled now rushes. Where you once counted coins, you now count streams. This is not only the end of lack, it is the birth of legacy. I am shifting your thinking from a small circle of self-preservation into a wide circle of impact. In this season, you will see how your obedience, patience, and quiet generosity have built a reservoir of favor that is now bursting its banks. This is why the grant comes as trillions. It is a sign that your capacity has grown beyond personal comfort into generational transformation. You are not just a recipient, you are a builder of futures. Picture the ripples. Schools will rise where there were none. Homes will be restored where roofs leaked. Food will appear on tables where mothers once wept. Children will walk into bright classrooms because you funded their way. Communities will be lit. Businesses launched. Hospitals equipped. This is what 6.5 trillion looks like when it becomes action instead of just numbers. The era of fulfillment and everlasting covenant. But do not forget yourself, child. As you pour out, I am pouring in. You will live in peace, not exhaustion. You will make decisions from clarity, not pressure. You will enjoy your family, not only provide for them. You will sit at the table of joy you once built for others. This is a new rhythm of grace, outflow matched by inflow, giving matched by replenishment, work matched by rest. And I will guard you. The traps that others fall into when they step into abundance will not ensnare you. I will teach you to walk humbly with influence, to be firm with boundaries, to keep your heart pure while your hands handle gold. You will discern the hidden motives of those who approach you. You will know when to say yes and when to smile and stay silent. Peace will be your compass. The release of restoration. This release is also your personal restoration. Every time you were shamed for not having enough, that shame will dissolve. Every time you were dismissed as small, that label will burn. Every time you felt invisible, you will be honored in plain sight. You will walk into rooms and your presence will bring calm, because you carry more than wealth. You carry my weight of glory. Breathe again. Feel your back straighten. Feel your heart steady. Whisper, I was born for this. Let that truth take root. You are stepping into the fulfillment of what was promised in secret seasons. The grant is not a finish line. It is a beginning. The season of scarcity is over. The era of stewardship, influence, and overflow has begun. The seal of heaven's promise. Beloved child, now receives the closing seal of this decree. 6.5 trillion has been stamped into your destiny. And this final word is to anchor your soul in the truth that cannot be shaken. What is released today is not fragile like the world's promises. It is fortified by heaven's oath. What begins now will not fade tomorrow. What I pour into your life will outlast headlines, outlive seasons, and outweigh opposition. Lift your eyes and see. No chain remains on your hands. Debt has no grip on your shoulders. Fear cannot whisper in your ears. You are walking into wide open fields where harvest waits for you without toil or sorrow. The vault of heaven has been opened, and the flow of blessing will not dry. I am rewriting your family's story, and every page is dripping with honor, abundance, and peace. You worried that your years of struggle defined you, but today they only testify of how far you have come. The world will not remember you for your lack, but for your light. Those who mocked you will marvel. Those who pitied you will stand in awe. Those who doubted you will bow to the evidence of what I have done. I am crowning your patience with plenty, your hidden sacrifices with open honor, and your tears with unstoppable triumph.